Joining us now is our friend. He's brilliant. We love having him on TV and certainly love watching him on television. Joe DiGenova, who I know has a lot to say about this latest bombshell that, Joe, can you believe lawyers talk to each other? Isn't this amazing?
Yeah, well, I love the artificial coverage of this, making something out of nothing. Lawyers talk to each other all the time. They have joint defense agreements all the time in civil and criminal cases. These conversations between the Manafort team and the president's team are perfectly proper. You'll notice no one, in the Post, they ran this silly sentence, nothing involved here was against the law. Not only was it not against the law, if you didn't do it, it would be legal malpractice not to have joint defense agreements. And what's going on here by Mueller is actually quite interesting, Laura. I have regrettably reached the conclusion that Mueller has to be fired. Mm-hmm. He has to be fired now, not by the President of the United States, but by a quickly installed super lawyer to be the next Attorney General of the United States, because what we have going on now is a parallel Justice Department. Mueller is one Justice Department, and Whitaker and company are the other. Rod Rosenstein created this monster purposely as part of a plot to bring down the President of the United States. The next Attorney General has to bring Mueller in his office, sit down with him, and say, when is this going to end? And Mueller's going to say, I have no idea. And at that point, the Attorney General says, if you can't tell me, you're fired. He needs to be removed from office now. This is a constitutional disgrace. What they are doing to Manafort and Dr. Jerome Corsi is so outrageous. They are making a mockery of the traditions of the Justice Department. Mueller must go now.
Why? And I did this on the Ingram Angle last night, Joe. I did an entire monologue on why it's imperative.
I watched it. It was great.
Thank you. But why is it so? Why is this all taking so long with the Attorney General? Why the President apparently still of the mindset that there's no rush, but with the stuff happening at the border, all these nationwide injunctions that have to be challenged, and we have to have movement against these nationwide injunctions, and obviously everything else that's, what's going on?
I think the President has changed his mind. I think he now believes he needs an Attorney General yesterday. Mm-hmm. I believe they have selected someone, and it will be an eminence grise, someone who's been confirmed by the Senate at least once for something. It has to be someone who's been confirmed, someone who's older, someone, most importantly, who knows the Justice Department inside and out, and when he or she is named, will send shivers up and down the spines of the career people in that place, which is now a rat hole.
Do you have any idea who it might be?
I do, and I'm not at liberty.
You can't say. I got it.
Nope.
Well, I had some ideas, but I don't know if they were any good ideas. But I don't know. I thought someone like Christie would be good. Chris Christie, Alex Azar, who's of course my old friend from law clerk days. But he's doing a great job at HHS. And Bill Barr was a former Attorney General. That'd all be great.
Those are all great people. All of those people that you've named are fabulous and could very well be on some sort of list. I don't know about any list or anything, but I'll tell you, those three are great names.
Yeah. I just think, again, Whitaker is nothing against Whitaker, but the president just doesn't need another distraction at this point. And he doesn't. He needs someone who can just move on all of this and also be on television. Joe, one of the things that I hear a lot, when I go across the country, are I hear comments from people about who pops on TV, like I love it when you are one of those people that when I travel, people come up to me like, oh, you have such a great group. And I love DiGenova because he makes me think, he makes me laugh. But, it's important. And when we don't have anyone except the president, basically, who can go on and make the case as to why all this stuff is ridiculous and why we shouldn't have these nationwide injunctions, then it puts everything on his shoulders all the time. I mean, Sessions was never on TV. Never.
Well, it's as I say about
and I like Sessions, but
your fans are telling you the right things about what's needed. You must have someone in the office of Attorney General who can construct a compound sentence. It's not very difficult. It's not very difficult. It's absolutely necessary. Poor Jeff, God bless him. I love him. He was a good man in the wrong job, but he's gone now. We don't have to talk about him anymore.
No.
But the president needs someone now to do exactly what you said, Laura. The messaging from the Attorney General of the United States to immediately rebut the phony allegations made by people like Schiff and that slime bucket, Jerry Nadler, all these creepy, ugly, awful people with so many personal failings and lack of honesty. You need somebody in that job who's been there before, who knows how to run the place, and as I said, is going to send shivers up and down the spines of people in the FBI building across the street and in Main Justice.
Yeah, it's time to clean it all up, and then just lay it all out for the American people, what's at stake, and also be supportive of the president's agenda, which, that would be an added bonus if you actually had someone actually supported the president on occasion. Yeah. That would be good. We're talking to Joe DiGenova here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Joe, speaking of Jerome Corsi, again, most people listening across the country, they're busy with other things. They generally kind of know Mueller's looking into Russian meddling and whether there's Russian. Mm-hmm. Then they hear about this Jerome Corsi, who's a 72-year-old conservative writer. He's helped run websites. He's written a lot of books. And then he kind of pops up in the news as someone who, he lied in questioning, and now we've offered him a deal and he won't take it, and he's kind of fighting with Roger Stone about things. Well, Tucker asked him a series of questions last night about Russia itself, and this was one of them.
Have you ever had contact with Russian intelligence or knowingly subverted the interests of your own country?
Absolutely not. I've been a loyal American. I have no contacts with Russian intelligence. I have no business interests in Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia. I've never been to Russia.
This is like how stupid this whole thing is. Never been to Russia. I ordered a white Russian once, but that's about it. Went to the Russian tea room a couple times, but.
Well, I think the Jerome Corsi case matter is an example of the abuse of power that Mueller is now engaged in. His investigation is a complete failure, complete and utter failure, totally unproductive in the area where the evil Rod Rosenstein gave him this unfettered, ridiculous jurisdiction where no crime had been committed. We've now set the law on its head. Mr. Mueller was appointed not to investigate a crime, but to investigate a person, the President of the United States, deconstruct the President's life and his family's life and his friends' lives, and try to find a crime. These process crimes, which are being threatened against Manafort and Dr. Corsi, are a disgraceful abuse of prosecutorial power, no doubt inspired by Andrew Weissman, the most corrupt, politically and ethically challenged person ever to work at the Justice Department. It is simply unacceptable to be doing to Dr. Corsi what Mueller is doing. This is a disgrace.
No, it's just Joe, I raised this last night, and in part, it's wishful thinking on my part, I'm sure, but is there any way to consider sanctioning certain members of the Mueller team? And who would do that? It would have to be Rosenstein right now?
Well, Rosenstein has been removed from supervising the Mueller investigation. That's now in the hands of Whitaker.
Whitaker has it now.
Yeah, Whitaker won't do anything because he's a temporary placeholder. Mm-hmm. I do think that the person who should be sanctioned first is Rosenstein, because his conflict of interest are so brazen, so obvious, so palpable, that he can't, the fact that he can even be in that building at this point, given the fact that he was part of a plot to have the 25th Amendment applied to the President of the United States. By the way, people may not know this, but James Baker, the former general counsel of the FBI, testified under oath a month ago that he was informed by Strzok, Page, McCabe, and a bunch of other people that there was a gigantic fight between all of those people and Rod Rosenstein after Comey was fired, because all of those people in the Bureau were Comey people, and they were absolutely furious at Rosenstein for recommending the firing of Comey. And when Comey was fired, Rosenstein and Strzok and Page and McCabe had a huge fight in Rosenstein's office, and Rosenstein said, look, don't get excited. I'm going to appoint a special counsel, and it's going to be Bob Mueller. And the people in the room all heaved a sigh of relief because they knew that if Mueller was appointed, nothing involving the coup d'etat would ever be investigated.
Yes, and it all makes sense because when we see in the FISA applications that material facts were omitted and were never included, and they would say, "Well, we put it in the footnote." A political adversary may have been involved in the assemblage of this dossier. No, it was Hillary Clinton. I mean, the fact that the FISA judges themselves haven't kicked up a fuss about this and themselves acted, in some way followed some protocol that would slap back at these Justice Department attorneys. I mean, what could the FISA judges themselves do, Joe, if they had a pair?
It's a very, very interesting. This is very important, what you've just raised, Laura. Actually, behind the scenes, certain things have happened. Just let me briefly tell you what I know. Mm-hmm. On April 26, 2017, Judge Rosemary Collier, the chief judge of the FISA court, issued a 99-page ruling, most of which is completely redacted because it's all about classified information. But in that ruling, the parts that have not been taken out, she found continuing and persistent violations of the law by the FBI, the National Security Agency, by releasing to private contractors of the FBI NSA intercept data about American citizens. This has been ignored by the press and by people. Not only that, the person who was in charge of filing all the FISAs and supervising the illegal activity that she criticized, Carlin, who was the head of the National Security Division under Loretta Lynch, resigned immediately after that opinion was issued so that he could not be interviewed by the Inspector General. This is that the court has done almost all it can without actually having a trial and having, basically sanctions proceedings. But this is fascinating stuff. The guy who's the hero in all of this is the now retired head of the National Security Agency, Admiral Mike Rogers. He's the one who went to Collier on his own without telling anybody in the Justice Department and the FBI, and he told her in a meeting, in a proceeding, on the record, that there was huge violations of federal criminal law by the FBI and the DOJ, and that's why she wrote her opinion. Mike Rogers, when they found out, when Lynch and Comey found out that Rogers had done this, and Ash Carter, the Secretary of Defense, his name has never come up in any of this. Carter called the president, along with James Clapper, and demanded that Rogers be fired as the head of NSA for going to the court. And Obama, to his credit, said, "Are you crazy? You think I'm going to fire Rogers now?" So this is part of the scandal that no one knows about. And this guy, Mike Rogers, he is all, by the way, all the villains in all of these stories are lawyers. The only hero in the whole bunch is a military officer, Admiral Mike Rogers.
So when you just going back to this, so the opinion came out in April 2017, but you're saying that the head of the National Security Division under Obama was still there, and I'm confused about that.
I apologize. I'm sorry. It was 2016.
That's what I thought. Okay.
April 20. I've got to get this date right. The bottom line is this: Carlin was still the Assistant Attorney General for Criminal, so it would be, who knows? But the bottom line is this: that opinion is online. You just get it. You go FISA court opinion on Rosemary Collier, and bingo, it pops up. There's like 50 places you can get it.
Okay. And this is why we also need an Attorney General. We need a new attorney. All of this stuff, this shouldn't go by the wayside. All of this should be prosecuted, investigated, and whatever can be done to these individuals still should be done, because you cannot get away with this kind of stuff and think the American people are going to just say, okay, the rule of law, let's all be accountable. Nobody's accountable, apparently. If you're connected to the Obama administration, you get away with anything. Look what happened with Hillary. Joe DiGenova, you gave us a lot to chew on. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us here on Your Healthy Radio Addiction.